Let's talk about the christmasization of Hanukkah. You know exactly what I mean. It's winter, the mall is blasting All I Want for Christmas Is You, there's tinsel everywhere, fake snow in places that might have never seen real snow, and somewhere, tucked between Santa and the 3-for-2 sock display, is a lonely little menorah, usually next to blue and silver wrapping paper that says Festival of Lights in a vaguely Hebrew-looking font. And that's what Hanukkah has become for much of the world. A cute, inoffensive, Instagrammable Jewish Christmas. 8 nights of light, some donuts, some presents, maybe a dreidel emoji, and absolutely no mention of what Hanukkah is actually about. We see this most clearly in how some politicians talk about it. There's that now famous and hilarious clip of Kamala Harris where she is asked what she loves most about Hanukkah, and she says,
I love Hanukkah because it really is about the light.
Now look, I'm not here to pick on her personally. She's just saying out loud what many people assume. Hanukkah equals generic spiritual vibes. A bit of light in the darkness, a little hope. It's Hallmark card theology. And then, the part that I find most darkly comical is that you can often find deeply anti-Israel politicians like Ilhan Omar, Jeremy Corbyn, who will put out a happy Hanukkah message to everyone, may you find the light in the darkness. And it's so comical because happy Hanukkah, well, this is a festival that literally celebrates the Jews reclaiming political sovereignty in the land of Israel, retaking Jerusalem and rededicating the temple on what today is probably the most contested religious site in the world. That's like being passionately anti-French, hating the very idea of France existing as a country, and then sending out heartfelt Bastille Day greetings. It makes no sense. And the only way it can make sense is if we've successfully stripped Hanukkah of its Jewish, national, historical, and spiritual content, and we've turned it into something soft, vague, universal, and inoffensive. Because in this Christmasized parody of Hanukkah, there is no Judea, no Greeks, no war, no Temple Mount, no sovereignty, no Am Yisrael Chai as a real physical people in a real physical land. Just vibes. So, let's remind ourselves what Hanukkah is actually about. Historically, Hanukkah is about a foreign empire, the Greeks, controlling the land of Israel. It's about a campaign of not only political domination, but cultural and religious assimilation. Bans on circumcision, Shabbat, Torah study, and pagan altars forced into the temple. It's about a small group of Jews, the Maccabees, saying, no, we're not going to become an assimilated footnote to history. We're not going to let our covenant, our Torah, our land be erased. They fought. This was not a meditation retreat. It was a violent, messy, costly revolt. They reclaimed parts of the land. They retook Jerusalem. They ascended the Temple Mount, cleansed it of idols, and rededicated it. It was also an internal struggle among Jews, some of which wanted to assimilate into Greek culture. That is literally what Hanukkah is all about. It means dedication. And later, the sages highlight the spiritual miracle of the oil lasting 8 days. It's beautiful, but they don't erase the fact that this was also a military victory, a national liberation movement for a people asserting their right to live as Jews in a Jewish land under Jewish divine law. That's Hanukkah. So when a politician who spends all year calling the existence of a Jewish state a colonial project, or undermining Israel's right to defend itself, or promoting boycotts of the Jewish state, then turns around and says, Happy Hanukkah, may the lights bring hope, you've got to laugh. Because if Hanukkah means anything, it means that Jews having sovereignty in the land of Israel is not a 20th century colonial invention. It's one of the oldest ideas in Jewish history. And that's the deeper issue here. The way people are trying to detach Judaism from the land of Israel altogether. The de-Judaization of the land of Israel. For centuries, people have tried to turn Israel into something abstract and neutral. A land of 3 faiths. Or proposals to make Jerusalem an international city, as if you can surgically remove the heart from a body and expect it to keep beating. UN bodies pass resolutions avoiding the term Temple Mount, referring to it only by non-Jewish names as if Jewish connection to the site is a recent political invention, rather than the very centre of our religious life for thousands of years. All of this is part of the same move: detach the Jewish people from the Jewish land. But Judaism without the land of Israel is like a body without oxygen. Our prayers are full of Zion, Jerusalem, return to our land. Our festivals are timed to the agricultural cycles of the land of Israel. Jews face Jerusalem when they pray, and Hanukkah is one of the clearest examples where the Jewish people declare, we're not just a people that have a set of beliefs. We are a nation with a land, a temple, and a divine purpose, and we will fight for it. So how did we let Hanukkah become so shallow? Partly because Jews living in Christian majority countries did what minorities do. They adapted. Christmas is everywhere. The lights, the advertising, the presents. So Jews understandably leaned into, we also have lights. We also have a winter holiday. We also do presents. And slowly, Hanukkah became the Jewish version of Christmas. Suddenly, there were Hanukkah bushes, blue and white tinsel, and an avalanche of Festival of Lights content that conveniently forgets the actual story. And I think it's also because talking about sovereignty, battles, temple rituals, and Jewish nationalism doesn't always fit so nicely into a multi-faith holiday party in a corporate office. So, to avoid awkwardness, the story gets sanitized. Meanwhile, and here's the twist, while Hanukkah is being softened into a universal winter festival about light, Christmas itself actually contains far more pre-Christian, pagan winter elements than many people even realise. Evergreen decorations, solstice imagery, the Christmas tree, these have long, complicated histories that go back to ancient European and Near Eastern winter traditions. Early Christians reinterpreted and absorbed them into their own framework. That's not a criticism. Religions often do this. But here's the key point. If you want a universal winter holiday about nature and light, there are plenty of solstice festivals for that. Hanukkah is not that. And Hanukkah also is not just a national liberation movement. It is that, yes. It's Jews fighting for their land, their temple, their sovereignty. But it also reminds us that Jewish nationhood is not like other nationhoods. It isn't nationalism in the modern sense. It's not simply about borders, flags, or military victories. It's about a people with a unique spiritual destiny, bound to a unique piece of land, with a unique mission in the world. And Hanukkah is about Jews refusing to become a Hellenistic imitation of someone else, not only politically, but spiritually too. Hanukkah is about saying, we are not just another tribe, we're not just another culture, we are a covenantal people with a purpose, a people entrusted with Torah, a people whose national life is interwoven with the divine, a people whose land, law, temple, and destiny are part of a spiritual vision for humanity. The Maccabees were not just fighting to fly a Jewish flag, they were fighting to preserve a way of life that brings God into history. A life of commandments, holiness, justice, and moral responsibility. They were fighting not just for Jewish independence, but for Jewish identity. Not just for a homeland, but for the spiritual engine that gives that homeland meaning. And ironically, they did that through physical fighting. Hanukkah says something revolutionary. A nation can only fulfill its mission if it remains true to its soul. And for the Jewish people, that soul is expressed through our Torah, our mitzvot, the temple, Jerusalem, through standing up for ourselves on the physical battlefield, but also in every battlefield, in the public arena, declaring proudly our Jewishness, which is why we light the menorah in our windowsill. So we declare it publicly, we show we're not afraid. Let everyone see it, let everyone see our difference. Difference should be celebrated. Difference can be a blessing. If we're all the same, life's boring and none of us have anything unique to contribute. So when we reduce Hanukkah to just another festival of lights with candles and donuts and light in the darkness, we don't just erase the geopolitics, we erase the spiritual substance. We erase the reason there was anything worth fighting for in the first place. So this year, let's remember what Hanukkah is really about. And in that way, not just have a more happy and meaningful Hanukkah, but take its lessons into the future. And not just make it about the light, but about your light that you can spread, your Jewish light that you can spread to the entire world. And in doing so, be a blessing to the world that we were always meant to be. For thousands of years, the Jewish people have carried a promise that history is not a random cycle, that suffering and darkness and exile are not the end of the story, that one day the world will be redeemed and the Messiah, the Moshiach in Hebrew, will come. But what does that actually mean? Who is Moshiach? When will he come? How will we know he's real? Why would God design a world that waits so long for redemption in the first place? And what will life feel like after he comes? With AI and machines beginning to replace work, maybe we're already catching a glimpse. But then what will we do with our days? The prophets spoke of that world long ago. In this groundbreaking JTV Plus documentary, we uncover the truth about the Jewish vision of the Messiah, who he is, why it matters, and why his coming could be closer than you think. Join us as we reveal the truth about history's most anticipated figure. To watch this JTV Plus documentary and access much more premium content, click on the link in the video description.